Today, in honor of Pride Month, I'm speaking with the University of Virginia's Gary Nemax. He's the Assistant Vice President of Compliance and the chair of the LGBT Committee, which was founded in 2011. Gary, I'm going to dive right in. What does Pride Month mean to you?
People ask about why we use the word pride, and I like using that word to describe these events because I think for a lot of gay people, we're coming from a place where there was a point in time where we would have switched to being straight if we could, where we were embarrassed or ashamed of being gay. And this is kind of flipping that notion on its head and making sure that people understand this is not something to be ashamed of. This is part of who we are. And there are reasons to celebrate that.
So you've held various roles in the administration at UVA for more than 30 years. That's a long time. And you attended undergrad there.
Right.
It's unique to have a line of sight into an organization's growth for such a long period of time. How have you seen your organization's approach to LGBTQ plus issues change over that time? Does that kind of provide a lens into how society has changed?
Yes, it really does. So first of all, let me say I was 11 years old when I started working at UVA. But yeah, no, it's been a great career. It's not something I would have anticipated, but yeah, I was there as an undergrad, and I was definitely not comfortable being out when I was a first year student at UVA, and sort of came out gradually during my time there. And then I left for a couple of years and came back as an employee, working as a buyer in the medical center, and sort of had to go through that process again. Early on, I was not comfortable being out at work, in part because I knew that I could be fired for being gay. It was completely legal. It was not part of the university's non-discrimination policy in 1989 when I started. And so I thought, at worst, I could be fired, or I could just have it really hurt my career and my chances of getting ahead at the university. But in 1991, then President Castine added sexual orientation to the university's non-discrimination policy. That was really a powerful statement. So that really gave me it really prompted me to start coming out to people at work. And I like to make sure that younger people understand that for me, coming out in the 80s, it's not just about telling people that you're gay. It's risking potential rejection from your parents and your friends. It's sort of accepting these things that I think about as that were truths at the time, that I would never get married, I would never have children, never join the military. I wouldn't find a church that would accept me for who I am. I'd have to stay closeted at work because I'd be afraid of being fired. All of those things that I sort of had to accept when I was coming out. And it's been rewarding to see those things erode over time. And I'm not saying we can check the box next to each of those and claim victory that they're fixed, but all of those things are possible now, depending on where you live and where you work. So that's been very gratifying to see that, both at the university and nationwide.
So what issues impacting the LGBTQ plus community are on your mind? What should we take the time to educate and empower ourselves about?
Understand that there may be people at work who are having a difficult time with their sexual orientation. It could run the whole spectrum. So there could be people who are still not out, or people who have had family members reject them because of their sexual orientation, to other people who have certainly not completely moved on, but at least that's not their sexual orientation isn't really or their gender identity is not a big problem in their life. It's just a part of who they are. I think it's helpful to acknowledge that we're around and be mindful of language. Again, like not assuming I have a wife, but asking people about their spouse or partner or something like that instead. I think one thing that's changed is when I first started coming out at work, I had people who told me that I was the first gay person they ever met, or the only gay person they knew. And it took me a while to develop a better response to that, but I would tell them, I can assure them that I'm not. the only one. There are other gay people working at UVA. There are other gay people in this building. I might be the first person who's comfortable enough with you to talk about it, but I'm not the only one. But I see this repeating itself now with the trans community, because I think as more transgender people are public about their transition and we know more about them, I hear people saying that now, that, oh, so-and-so is the first trans person I knew. And I would say the same thing. They're probably not. But I think that helps not only the rest of the community understand us better, but it helps younger people feel more comfortable coming out to be able to see us represented in so many other areas of life.
Pride Month is wrapping up, but our goal is to be really intentional about finding opportunities to celebrate and embrace this community and others throughout the year. What can we as individuals do to foster an inclusive and diverse workplace?
Doing something for Pride Month is a good first step. And there are organizations like the Human Rights Campaign that offer best practices for employers that you could consider doing. If you don't already have an LGBTQ employee resource group or committee, consider having one. About whether you have all gender restrooms in your facilities. And I'm not talking about that people get worked up about bathrooms and what that means. I'm talking about the single stall, one at a time, lockable restrooms that we all use in Starbucks or on an airplane or in your house. If you're including if you do surveys to include demographic information, that would include sexual orientation and gender identity, to help make sure that we're providing the proper resources to send a message that the community is welcome at the university, and to make sure that we're able to provide the best service to them that we can. And I think, you could have certainly speakers and events throughout the year. It sounds like you're doing this as part of your DEI efforts, but just to make sure that you have a broad spectrum of individuals involved in that process.
Some of those things we definitely check the box on, and some we still have work to do. But this was a really great conversation, and I just want to thank you for speaking to all of us at Apex today for Pride Month.
Sure, I appreciate it, and thanks again for including our community in your DEI efforts. And if any of you think that there aren't members of the LGBT community at Apex, I can assure you that there are, and hopefully they feel comfortable being out and talking about it.
I hope so too. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.